Hello, everyone. So we're doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to be showing you how to care and clean your sea sponges. So this is a new sea sponge that we need to clean before first use. You'd be surprised how dirty these are, even if they are processed and bleached properly, which this one does have a little bit of bleaching. I recommend using either just warm water or water with soap to do this initial clean. I'm really agitating this sponge because I want the water to penetrate through the whole sponge and also to be pushed through those holes so we can get the little debris that's within the sponge out. When you're squeezing your sponge, you want to put consistent pressure and make sure to get as much of the water out of your sponge so it can dry nicely when you set it out. Never twist your sponge like this, it'll damage the structure. Look how dirty this water is. I was only cleaning it for a couple of minutes and you can see that there's black floaty pieces in there from in the depth of the sponge, as well as the water just looks a little murky. You can see how dirty that water is when I pour it into this glass. So make sure you are washing your sponges before you use them for the first time. This is a sponge that I've been using for bathing, and what I've noticed after a little while, it starts to feel a little bit harder than it once did. The structure isn't as springy as it once was. So you can revitalize the structure, and it's encouraged that you do a bath with these sponges every couple of weeks with baking soda and water to revitalize that structure and bring that softness back. So nothing special. We are going to be using 15 grams of baking soda per 250 mils of water. If you want exact measurements, here I'm just sort of eyeballing things based on my previous experience. You can use more or less. This isn't going to damage the sponge at all, but that gives you sort of a guideline to start with. You want to make sure that you have enough water to mostly cover the sponge so it soaks in there nicely, and make sure you do push the water with the baking soda mixture through that sponge to get it deep down in there. After letting it soak for about 15 to 30 minutes, make sure you squeeze out all that water Make sure you give it a final rinse with clean water. Look how springy it is. It's back and revitalized. Always air dry your sponge. Never put it in the dryer. You can also sanitize your sponges, and it's recommended to do that every once in a while, especially when you start noticing that your sponge is getting a smell or has some stains on it, which can happen if the sponge has been bleached. There's a couple different things that you could use to sanitize your sponge. My personal favorite is hydrogen peroxide. I got this one at a dollar store. You can also use white vinegar, but I really don't like the smell, so I don't use it. Never use bleach. It will ruin your sponge. Also, never boil your sponge. It will ruin it. It will get hard from the hot water. Never microwave your sponge, either to disinfect or dry. If you're going to be using hydrogen peroxide, use about 60 mils or a quarter cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide per 1 cup of water, or 250 milliliters. And then with white vinegar, you can use 15 milliliters or 1 tablespoon per 250 mils or 1 cup of water. In this demonstration, I'm going to be using a lot more water in this ratio just because I wanted to make sure that the sponge was covered and my tub is quite large. But as a guideline, those are the ratios that you should use to disinfect your sponge. So I've let my sponge soak for a couple of hours now. Make sure you wring it out really well, plus rinse it with clean water thoroughly, and then air dry as always. You may notice with using hydrogen peroxide that your sponge gets a little bit bleached afterwards, and that's definitely normal. That's actually what they use to process bleach sponges. You can see here that there is a little bit of a difference. These two sponges were the same color before, but you can tell the one that I had just used hydrogen peroxide soak on is a tiny bit lighter than the one on the left side. So the more you do this to the sponge, the more yellow it will get. And these are an example of that. The one on the left has been pre-treated and bleached before being sold to consumer, and the other one is unbleached. If you take care of your sponges, they can last from 6 months up to a full year. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this information interesting and it helped you. And please like and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support.